Okay, in this video, what we're going to do is fix another problem. And you're probably thinking, oh my god, how many problems do you actually get when doing weapons? Well, quite a few, as you probably noticed. Now, these are all little things which can be a little bit annoying, but there's I'll say there's reasons behind it. I honestly think that a lot of these problems have been, I won't say caused, but in big studios, in-game studios, there's a lot of outsourcing, things like that. You'll have different companies doing different different items, whether they're doing weapons or doing vehicles and all the rest of it. And obviously, some people will be using Maya, some people will be using Max or Blender or any other 3D program. And when in the past, when they've been exporting the content to the Unreal Engine, it's been coming over a little bit different. Now, you might think there's quite a few things that they could just turn around to the companies and say, oi, get your act together, do it this way, or you're not going to get paid. Well, that's up to you. But this actually gives us the possibility to show ways and means of fixing the problems. If you have been sort of like, somebody's given you a freebie weapon and you're like, okay, that's great, love it, can you do this? No, I ain't got time, bye. Right, so it's up to you. Now, what we're going to do in this video is, we've dealt with as much as I can with the first person view, with the pickup. We're going to go on to something else now. You'll like this, not a lot. What I'm going to do is to have a look at the third person view. Now, obviously the easiest way to do this is to grab a bot, slap it on a bot and let him run around and chase you. I don't like that because I normally get fragged. So for me, the easiest way initially to check these things is to go from what we now have, the first person view, into the third person view. Now, to do this, you need to open the command console, which is the tab key, and you get that nice little green line down there. Now, all you have to do is type in behind view. Now, as you can see, when you type these commands in, it'll actually come up on screen as like tooltips. So we'll do that, behind view, and go hit return. Well, stop doing that. Press return, and you now get into the behind view. Now, as you can see, in all these years I've been doing these DavCorp videos, I still haven't fixed the skinning on this character mesh, but we can still see that the third person view of this weapon mesh, one, is too big, and two, it's pointing the wrong way. Right, now how do we fix this? It is should I say relatively simple, but it'll get the grey matter going. Okay, so let's get out of game. Yep, bang, 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 bye-bye. Get into context. Now, we've dealt with the UT game, UT Weapon BC L-Gun code so far. For the third person view, e.g. what the bot runs about with, or if you're doing possibly if you're doing a third person camera type thing, whether this affects you, possibly. Right, now, because I use the exact same system to export my first person and third person mesh, e.g. everything is aligned down the positive x-axis. Alright, that's the mesh and the bones. What we have to do for the third person view is actually rotate the bone, not the bone, the mesh. Okay, now as you can see here, if you use the UT attachment link gun code, which is what we've done, I mentioned that in the first part of the code video. We've gone through all this. We're now playing with the default properties. Now I commented these out, yeah, quite easily, double backslash, so they don't get affected. Now as you can see here, we have got some options already in, which gives you a clue of what you can do with this. Well, with these options, you can translate the mesh, you can rotate the mesh, and you can scale the mesh all via the code. Now, one would say, wouldn't it be better to have it all done in your 3D program beforehand? Yeah, it would. But then again, it would mean setting up a different rig. If, like me, you're just using a basic rig for your weapons, then it is pretty pointless redoing everything and, you know, re-rigging, reskinning, and all the rest of it. I just use the same one for me. Okay. Now, what we want to do is actually check the what rotations that we need and translations. Well, at the moment, translation seems fine. The scale of the weapon looked a little bit big, so what we're going to do is, just on the scale side, I'm going to change that to 0. Let's say 75, which will reduce it by 25%, or make, to put it correctly, the scale will be down to 75% of the original size of the mesh. Now, you noticed that the weapon was pointing off to the left, going across the player mesh. Now, what we need to do is to deal with the rotation. This is not as easy as you may think, because when dealing with UT code, Unreal script, I should say, a lot of the rotation values is not actually done by degrees, it is done by radians. Now, what's a radian? Go Google it, because I'm not going to try and explain it. I've got an idea how it is, but that's my head. Right, so what we're going to do is, I am purely going to go into my DC content, my DavCorp classes, because I know I've already got this value here somewhere. Go into my UT attachment DC shock rifle, and you can see here what I have done is I've got a rotation in the yaw. Right, yaw is sort of like, well, yeah, from left to right. Roll is sort of like that way, and pitch is probably up and down. So you go up and down, twist. Yeah, it's pretty much like X, Y, and Z, but obviously pitch, yaw, roll. Now the value what I want is a rotation value of yaw, 16,384. I know what you're thinking. What on earth is he on? Alright, get back in here. There we go. The rotation value is that. Now I'm going to take away those comments. Now you're going to say, what on earth? I mentioned is radians. Yeah? Right, what is a radian? Okay, next question is, where does it come from? The radian comes from an actual circle. Now, if I remember rightly, it's been a long time since I went to school, I can tell you. But the circumference of a circle, I believe, was 2 pi r. Does that ring a bell? Now, 2 pi is 3.14 blah 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 blah, if I remember rightly. Right. You, I know you're giving it, oh my god, here we go. Right, the circumference of the circle being 2 pi r will make it something like 6 point, if you've got a circle that is a unit of 1 in radius. Yeah, the diameter of that, well, I say the diameter, the circumference of that will be 2 times pi times 1. Yeah. Now keep on going, bear with me. 2 times pi will be 6.24 blah 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 blah. Alright, so you're gonna have a circumference of that. Now if you make that a bit bigger and give it into big values, now I'll keep on pointing to this, you'll see why. So if you go all the way round, you're gonna have, say, like 62, well, I think it's 60 odd thousand. Alright, now this is, I know it's not exact, yeah, well, what we're using, well, I don't think it is because I ain't got a calculator on me, but if you go, say, take a quarter of that, which could be 90 degrees, alright, you're going to get that value there. Okay, I know it's a bit ham-fisted description, but I think this is pretty much where it's going. If you want to get exact values, go look at what a radian is. Okay, I'm not going to be teaching maths today. God, it's a long time ago. Anyway, if you want radians, this is what you've got to use for Unreal Script for the rotations, is radians. So we've got 16,384 on the plus value. Okay, now that equates to 90 degrees. You don't believe me? Watch. Right, here we go. Compile. Start the game to compile it. Compile it. Have another drink of coffee. Close that. Go on, close. Start the game. Let's hope the menu doesn't play up with me again. Come on. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Instant action, game mode. No, game mode I want. That game. Map. Settings. Now I can actually get it. Start game. Now what was we testing? Oh right, yeah. Go run up the other side. Now if it had been sensible, what I would have done is change my default weapon to be this. So we're in there, hit tab. Now one of the tricks here, if you've already used a command within the game environment, once you open the command line with open the console as it's called with the tab key, if you use your arrow keys up and down, it will sort of like scroll between the commands that you've recently used. It saves you typing it in all the time. So there we go. How about that? Alright, my weapon is now perfectly aligned up. The scale, probably not the best it could be, but that's the sort of thing that you want to do. Okay, now I could change the scale of that, I could change the rotation. If I want it to sort of like twist round and it's not perfectly aligned, then you can also play around with the roll. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. Let's just get out of the game. Quick reminder, see, my menu's gone squiffy again. So this is pretty much the last one I'm going to do on the weapon coding. Now, so we changed the scale, we changed the rotation, and if you need to, you can change the translation. Now obviously there's only the Z value there. You can actually go X, Y, Z. Same with the rotation, you can go pivot, yaw and roll. and scale. Okay, so if your third person mesh is not in the correct place, not looking or correctly orientated, this is how you can change it. Okay, so we'll leave it at that, and I'll go find other things to do. Okay, see you soon.